Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this one right here. This is called Yukon from A Games, and it is basically an abstract strategy game where you are picking up different kinds of cards from a 7x7 or an 8x8 grid, and some of those cards are going to be positive points for you at the end of the game. Some of them are going to be negative points, and some of them may even be townsfolk who are going to give you special abilities during the course of the game to either score more points or soften the blow from the negative points you're going to be taking. It's really an abstract strategy game where you're just simply taking cards from the grid. Let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few moments. So here I have a game of Yukon set up for you with the Townsfolk expansion that comes actually in the box. Now, the Townsfolk expansion is just the addition of these different people that are in the game, and they have different special powers. We'll go over those later. Let me just show you the basic way the game plays. Now, this is how the game is set up. It's an 8x8 grid with the Townsfolk expansion. Without the Townsfolk expansion, it'll be a 7x7 grid. But one of the cards in the deck will be a Sheriff card. And the Sheriff card, wherever it shows up, is where the meeple starts. Okay, so this is where the meeple will start for this particular setup. Now, the person who goes first is going to be able to choose either a row or a column from where the Sheriff token is, and he can take one of the cards in that column. Now, why would you want to take cards? Well, gold cards are going to be worth positive points for you at the end of the game, whereas pebble cards, or the red numbers, are going to be worth negative points at the end of the game. And so in this particular setup, the person who's going first is probably definitely going to choose to take this 10 right here and put this in front of him, and that's points for him at the end of the game. Now the next person is going to have to choose to take from the column. He cannot choose to take from the row because that's what the first player did. And so in this particular case, maybe we're going to go ahead and take the 6. But one of the things that you have to kind of think about during the course of the game is, what are you going to open up for the next player by taking the card that you're taking? Because you know that the next person is going to have to take from the row. So maybe they'll go for this one, seeing that there's a bunch of negatives and only a positive one, but some of the townsfolk might be, worth more than the 1 point here or getting negative points. So anyway, more than likely, he'll probably choose to take this 6 right here and go right there. And then the next person has to take from the row. So we're going to go ahead and go here with this one, as that is over there. And then the next person has to take from the column over here. This one right here, whenever you land on the gold pan, you simply take the top token that is here, and those tokens hold numbers from 1 to 3 on them. All right, so you'll take that for over here, and he'll go there. And then the next person has to go on the row, so we'll go ahead and take this one right here, and so forth and so on. Now, there are two basic ways where the game can end, and one of them is that all of the cards have been taken. That's pretty much a rarity. More often than not, it will end by somebody not able to take a card in the row or column in which they find themselves. And then that will end the game. After that, all of the different gold cards are added up. Red cards are also added up and subtracted from your gold card value. Whoever has the most points at the end of that is the winner. Now, with the Townsfolk expansion, what these do is they have certain kinds of special abilities. For example, if you land on the innkeeper here, you take her and put her in front of you, and then on a future turn, you would be able to move diagonally if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to. If you have her still at the end of the game, all of the townsfolk that you have in front of you in your tableau are going to be worth 1 point, including her. If you would take the postman here, he would be able to, you put him in front of you, and then you can use him to change the direction that you have to take a card from that turn. So for example, if you have him in front of you, and on your turn you're supposed to take from a row, you can choose to take from a column instead by discarding him. But if you have not used him by the end of the game, he's the pebble cards that you have are going to make him worth that many points. So if you have 6 pebble cards in your stash, then he is going to be worth 6 points at the end of the game for you if you don't use his special ability. The Goldsmith over here allows you to discard a pebble card out of your tableau, and you would get rid of him and the pebble cards so that you don't have those points negating from your overall total at the end of the game. The Warden here basically reverses player orders. So if somebody lands on this card, they would take it, immediately take another turn, and then order would be reversed from that point on. The Commander card allows you to take a gold nugget card that has been discarded by somebody else or by you at some earlier point within the game. There is a trapper that isn't represented here that makes you discard one of your gold nugget cards, and so this guy will allow you to pick that up if, when you take this guy, there are no gold cards that have been discarded yet. You simply keep him in front of you, and he's going to be worth a number of points equal to how many gold cards you have in your tableau at the end of the game. And then you have this guy right here, who is the reseller, and he basically allows you to halve the value of your pebble cards at the end of the game, rounded down. So this lessens the impact of your pebble cards at the end of the game. And as we said earlier, after all of the tabulations have been done by adding up the golds and subtracting the reds, then taking into account any townsfolk special abilities that you may have, whoever has the most points is the winner. If there is a tie, whoever took the most gold tokens would be the winner, and if there's still a tie after that, it's a shared victory. So that's about that for Yukon. Now, there are some slight variations when you're playing either 2, 3, or 4 players. In a 2-player game, you simply play it the way it was explained, by one person taking the row, the next person taking the column, so forth and so on. With 3 players, you actually continue the same pattern, but there's 3 players there. So you're going to be able to take from rows and columns throughout the course of the game. So there you have that. With 4 players, you actually split up the players into 2 teams. The first and the third player are a team, and then the second and the fourth player are the team. And the first and third always take from either the row or the column. The second and fourth players always take from either the row or the column, whatever it might be, and then the players will combine their scores at the end. Whoever has the most is the winner. Whichever team has the most is the winner. So my first pro of the game is the fact that there are 2 ways to play the game that come in this box. Now, one is with an expansion, I granted, and most games will feel different with expansions. But I like the fact that it comes with the super basic way to play in the game, and then when you add in the townsfolk, it's kind of a step up to what probably the game was supposed to be or was meant to be with the expansion, but you have that other mode, I guess you could say, in the game. My second pro for the game is that I think the artwork is very well done, and it provides that extra layer or that extra veneer of theme to the game. It is an abstract strategy game, but it does still have that theme to it, and that's what the artwork provides for you. It is not just moving around and collecting that color disc compared to that color disc. It is still even colors. You're wanting either yellow or red cards. That's what you're going to be doing. And then the townsfolk get thrown in there, and there's another thin layer of theme added to it on top of that. But I am not saying that this is a thematic game. I'm simply saying that the artwork and the theme that is employed provides a coating, so to speak, over what would normally or otherwise be just an abstract strategy game. And I like that. These are the kinds of abstract strategy games that I prefer to play because, as I've said in the past, games that look good are more fun to play. And so that's pretty much where I'm going with this one. It has good artwork, a very thin veneer, a very thin layer of theme, yes, but it looks good, and so it's a little bit more fun to play, in my opinion. The townsfolk expansion, and one of the cool things about it is that I think once you get savvy with the game, you'll never play without it, and I like it when expansions do that. Now, there may be times where you're just introducing maybe a younger player to this idea of an abstract strategy game, and maybe you won't use the townsfolk in that specific situation, but generally speaking, I think you'll normally use the townsfolk expansion. There are 30 cards in the townsfolk expansion, and you only use half of them every game, so there's a good bit of replayability that's there. The idea that not the same townsfolk will come out in the same combination, because you do shuffle those 30 cards before you deal out your 15 to go into the regular deck to make up the 8x8 grid. So I like that it is that way. There's good replayability, and it adds that level of uncertainty to the game that you need for more replayability. And my final pro for the game is that it is a short game. So this actually falls within my category of what a filler game would be. It's 30 minutes or less, and it sets up pretty quickly, and it tears down really quickly as well. So you're really, from setup to tear down, you're really thinking about 30 minutes altogether, possibly a few more on that outside, but it really does play, and you're done in about 30 minutes, and I like it because this provides a palate cleanser, so to speak, for something. You play a heavier game, you throw this out on the table, cleanse that palate a little bit, and now you're ready for another heavier game because it's not heavy. It's definitely a very light game, and just provides that level of rest in between a couple of heavier games. So I like it. I think it fills that role very well. Now, as far as cons are concerned, I don't really have any cons for the actual gameplay itself. It's very straightforward, very simple, and also engaging. But my main con with the game is the fact that this is the size of the box right here, okay? And these are the components. So as you can see, really big box, very few components. Well, why did they make the box so big? Just for the rule books? Really? Come on. Now I know, I get it. You're trying to get more shelf space, more shelf appearance for your game so that it can be, I don't know, come on. I mean, these are the components for the game right here. And this is including the 30 townsfolk cards as well. If you want just the base game, looky here. This is the components for the game. Actually, just this guy, these tokens are with the expansion. So, oh man, this is just a pet peeve of mine, because if the game is this small, it absolutely does not need a box that is this big with this overly produced and largely unnecessary insert. So it's just a real big nitpick for me, because it's just completely unnecessary. It is nothing but a marketing ploy to try to get more shelf space. But I think that ultimately shoots the company in the foot, because you have people that now have to store this box on their shelving space for a game that is this small. And that just promotes ill will, I think. So that's really my only con for the game. So there you have it. So with all that having been said, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7 out of 10. Seal of approval comes along with it, because it is a filler abstract strategy game that I do enjoy, and usually those kinds of games are not within my purview. They're not part of my cup of tea, so to speak. And so when I find one that I do enjoy, I want to make sure people know that I do enjoy it a lot, because it is one of those genres of games that I usually shy away from. I just don't like abstract strategy games for the most part. But there are a few over the course of the years that have really kind of stuck out and shined in one way, shape, or form. And this one really shines as a filler gateway abstract strategy game. And so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for it. Thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.